Hi, my name's Brig Hart. I'm a Crown Ambassador with the Monavie business. Very excited to be a part of that, but that's kind of the present story. The story we're going to kind of talk about is where we came from and where we're at today and maybe where we're going. I was born and raised in DeLand, Florida, to the proud parents of my dad, Bob, and my mom, Cornelia Hart. My dad was a Stetson graduate. He had met my mom down there, and I was the second child at that point, born in '52, ways back there. Had an older brother. What followed were two other sisters. And my dad, more an entrepreneurial spirit, I guess, he went into business for himself as a builder. But growing up, Rita and I both were kids of working parents. They really did instill a tremendous work ethic in us because we were by no means abundantly blessed.
As a kid, I grew up in Melbourne, Florida. I was the youngest of four, and I count that as a blessing today because I got to see what my older siblings went through, especially in the do what feels good generation. I remember things were tough. My parents did own their own business, and so I got to see the highs and the lows of what they went through, and that if you were going to get something more out of life, you had to work for it.
Before I was even 16, I owned 3 cars before I had my license. They were used, but I took care of them, and when I did get my license, I had my own cars. They were paid for and enjoyed that, and Christmases were fun because I bought myself everything that I wanted and just wrapped it up and put it in there, but I was always out working for something. I was always motivated by something more than what I had. It wasn't the stuff, so to speak, but it sure was fun to set a goal and go after it. It was kind of like I was born with an entrepreneurial spirit.
Brig Hart sees further out than anybody that I've ever met. I can remember one time talking to him in a room, and I finally had to stop him after about 5 or 10 minutes. I said, Brig, I said, you've told me more in 5 minutes than I can accomplish in about 20 years. He is an extreme visionary.
Got in a little trouble in my senior year. I'd hooked a lot of days, juvenile trouble, nothing malicious, but it seemed like I was going down the wrong road. Surfing drew me. If it was sunshiny, I was out surfing, and of course Mom and Dad, were there to greet me when I came home with the truant officers there, wondering where I was at. But really what I was kind of bored with school because I was kind of a dreamer. I always wanted something better, bigger, faster, and I went after it. And of course, we were a country that went to war while I was in high school, saw a lot of my friends graduating the year before me and going right into the service. The Vietnam War had been going on. They re-implemented a full-blown draft lottery in '70. I'd also got in trouble, and I was thinking about maybe leaving the country. I wasn't excited about the Vietnam War and what happened to my friends, so I thought Canada was a good place to go. Started singing "Oh Canada," couldn't remember the words, so that didn't work out for me. So they kind of packed me up and sent me off to Paris Island right out of school. They were not playing games. These were 17, 18, 19-year-old kids that were scared to death, and they were training us to do one thing, survive. And then they were shipping them off right to Vietnam. But one of the blessings for me was that as I was getting ready to be shipped off, they decided no more Marines to Vietnam. And I served the 2 years, 70, 71. I got 3 meritorious promotions. I actually fell in love with it. I felt pride for my country and heartbroken for my friends that didn't make it back, but taught me something. A lot of discipline. I won about everything that they put me up for. Any athletic thing they did, I won. And I applied myself because there was nothing else to do. But the Marine Corps was not where I wanted to be. I always, like I said, was a dreamer. That was no place to be if you wanted to be successful, entrepreneurial. I mean, I think I was making at the most $360 a month. So when I got out, I was free-spirited. I wanted to regain those couple years. So ended up with a friend of mine. I think we had $350, and we literally toured the U.S. for about 2.5 months. Went out to the West Coast and surfed. Huntington Beach was one of my favorites, the pier out there, and just had a wonderful time. And I mean, we were sleeping in the van, we don't care. We were young and free, maybe a little naive. Working wasn't on my mind at this point, playing was, but I ended up, as money got low, ended up back here on the East Coast, back to Jacksonville Beach where I had roots. Bunked with my brother for a while. My brother and I used to talk in the evenings about what we loved doing, that was surfing. We said, what if we could make a living doing what we love doing? So we scrounged together some money, and believe it or not, we raised a little over $1,200 and opened up Hart Surf Shop. That was in '73. People thought we were nuts. And of course, everyone tells you can't make it doing something. And about 2.5, 3 years later, we opened another surf shop, expand our inventory, and David and I were little entrepreneurs. Hart Surf Shop was becoming pretty well known because we were surfers. We could relate in the water and sell them at night, and we would open anytime we could sell something, we'd open that shop up, which most of them wouldn't. They were 9 to 5 kind of thinkers, not David and I. We had to do what we had to do. So for 5 years we put in time, but in about 1978 the economy got tough. Gas prices went out the roof. 38 cents a gallon, we thought we'd never make it. And everything on a surfboard or skateboard was petroleum-based products, so it affected us in a major way. In 5 years, working 7 days a week, 8 to 18 hours a day to become free and build a dream and live the dream, we were broke. We were worse than broke, we were busted. To a point where I couldn't even pay an $18 light bill. We were living in the surf shop at that time. And I can remember in April of '78, I hit rock bottom and just slid into a state of depression. I couldn't seem to find a way out, didn't have any answers, didn't know how to turn it around. Started closing the surf shops. We were down to one surf shop. They were repossessing the one vehicle I had left. And well, anyway, I just figured out what the hey, life's been good, I'm out of here. And isn't it interesting, right about that time, a guy happened to talk to me about an opportunity to make some money. He invited me to a meeting. He told me, you know, wear business attire and show up, da-da-da. Well, long-haired hippie-type surfers don't wear business attire, so I didn't show up at the meeting. He realized that, so the very next day, he comes by the surf shop and asked me what happened. I just said, hey, Doug, you know, I ain't got no tie. You know, I didn't want to embarrass you or me. So over my little table in my surf shop, a little 40-watt bulb, he introduced me to something that would change my life. Drew a few circles. I'm not saying I understood anything he was talking about, but he showed me the industry of networking. I says, what's it going to take to get involved? And he told me what it was. It was $300 or $400, and I don't know what the deal was. I didn't have $18 to pay a light bill, so I asked Doug, he was an educated guy, I asked him if he'd be willing to take a check. And he did. Thank God for educated guys. He took a check and ordered all the stuff I needed. And believe it or not, I lost sleep for the next 3 days looking at that circle on a page replicated many times with everyone doing a little bit of business and then creating a big business. No overhead, no equipment, no inventory, employees. So 2 weeks, by the way, go by and Doug's calling me. He said, we got a problem, the check bounced. I said, well, duh. I didn't have $18 to pay a light bill. What do you think that check was going to do? So think about meager beginnings. I sold a wetsuit, TV, surfboard. That was my yard sale, and that was my entry into the industry of networking. They promoted the dream, and I wanted a dream of freedom and all that. I did not do well. My friends were not the type that were interested in that kind of a business. You wouldn't want those kind of guys in business with you anyway. So I was a failure, I guess. I didn't make it, but I didn't quit.
I have been with Brig when he was reduced to a very small amount of material wealth, and yet his vision for his life catapulted him into his future to the point that, that you're not going to beat this guy down. He is a visionary. You give him a lemon, he's going to make lemonade. You give him an obstacle in life, he's going to see how he can spin that thing around to an advantage.
What brought me into networking or looking at possibilities was a gal that I worked with had gotten involved in network marketing, and I was very intrigued by what she was telling me. I trusted her and her husband, so I went to their home, saw the opportunity, and wanted to get involved. And I knew that I wanted to be around people that were positive, that were upward mobile, that were going someplace in life.
But interestingly enough, one of the guys had befriended me and told me, he said, I'd love to kind of help you, but there's some things you're going to have to change in your life, and the change got to come from the inside out. That gentleman introduced me to the Lord. He had shared scriptures with me and shared that, you know, I could have a new life if I were willing to surrender the one I got and give my life to Jesus Christ. Well, guess what? A major point in my life was that moment. He says, well, just bow your head. I'm going to introduce you to the Lord. And I asked him, and he said, close your eyes. I said, well, what is he, a ghost? You're introduced? He said, kind of. And we prayed, and I prayed a simple prayer, received Christ. No big lightning bolts or anything, but I knew there was a change. I realized that I was looking at people as a way to use them to get me where I wanted to go. But by changing my heart and seeing things the way the Lord saw them, I saw people as just precious individuals the way He loved them. Since I love myself now, which I never did, I could love other people. So went out and started sharing it with a different perspective, seeing what I could do to help them. I just offered them what I had, the industry of networking, a chance to build a dream. If they were willing to work and had the right attitude, this was just a vehicle. It's interesting. In the next year and 3 months, I made 10 times more money than I made in my full-time job, part-time. All of a sudden, this entrepreneurial thing kicked in, and man, I had a dream beyond where I was at. I felt like the world was at the end of my hand. I could do anything I wanted to if I was willing to help enough other people get what they wanted. Started reading good books and listening, and started realizing I was formulating, I was becoming a different person by what I was exposing myself to. People, books, what I was listening to. Boy, did things change for me. I met my wife at a business opportunity meeting and fell in love immediately. So networking does have its benefits.
At the Orlando event where I met Brig, it was so funny. I had heard his name and people were talking about, oh, you got to meet this person, but I didn't ever think at that point that, I would have the opportunity to meet this person that they were building up. Of course, in those days, they had all the single women stand up, and the same thing with the gentlemen, kind of a matchmaking there. So at that particular event, I guess he must have noticed me. I was right, close to the front row, and we exchanged business cards, and I think our first date was a meeting, but we went to dinner prior to the meeting, and that's how we kind of got to know each other.
As soon as I met her and got to know her heart, I had a list anyway of what I was looking for. She met the list, so within 4.5 months we were married. We're finishing up 26 years, going on 27 now, and it's been marvelous. If I met her again today, I'd remarry her.
I love the fact that Rita is opposite of Brig, and that is how a lot of marriages are. But Rita is very detail-oriented. That's not Brig's thing. Brig is the visionary, and she's very practical. She's a great mom. She loves her kids. She's a lot of fun, and yet there's places where she's pretty strong and tough. So in relationship to Brig, she's totally opposite, but I think they make a fabulous match. That's kind of how God does it.
As a young couple, Brig and I, we had dreams, we had goals, and we were ready to run for it and get it done. And, we started having children. We've got 3 beautiful children. And so, it was a balancing act, trying to take care of the children, the business, going out doing meetings and doing what was necessary to get the job done. But it was all part of life. Brig and I, we achieved a very successful level in most people's eyes. We had a beautiful home on the ocean. We were able to travel when we wanted to, but the business was going through some changes as well. The paradigm had shifted. The internet and the way people do business had started to change as well. So Brig and I saw that, took note, and started to look at other options to reach our goals.
So liquid nutritional beverages seemed to be the buzz in networking anyway. I'm not an internet guy, so my kids went on, we Googled liquid fruits, pureed, 10,000 of them. I'm not good at researching either, so I hired a guy actually to go through all 10,000 of those hits, found me 4, and this led me to what I'd consider to be a divine appointment.
We were researching the functional beverage market, and we're looking at liquid vitamin companies, looking at different products in that category, different manufacturers. And through that process, we actually accidentally, trying to find another company, came across the Monavie website.
We flew into Salt Lake City and went to this little kind of dingy building with nothing impressive whatsoever. And then there was this guy we met, Dallin Larson. First time I'd ever laid eyes on him, first time I ever met him, first time I ever talked to him. Let me drink his product, pleasantly surprised, it was delicious. Then he took me on a little tour, told me a little bit about the product. I'd heard enough about acai. I said, there's something to this. First of all, we fell in love with Dallin Larson. What a man of character. And it just seemed like God had a divine appointment with us. We had so much we wanted to do that was so common. And I made a statement to him. I said, if the anointing of God is still on my life, then I'll go back home and you'll be a blessed business. If not, you'll never hear from me again. Don't worry, I'll just drink the product. Well, I came back, handed 7 bottles to my neighbors as housewarming gifts. Welcome to the neighborhood. Here's to a happier, healthier, more prosperous life from me to you, Montevideo. Those 7 people in 1 week and 1 bottle came to my house, sounded like a Benny Hinn healing crusade. I got excited. Well, they asked me if I'd present this to their friends, and I said, well, I guess. I don't know what to do, but we had this story DVD and we had the drink, so we said, let's host a tasting party. So, bottom line of networking is exposing new people to the product and the program, so that's what we did.
When he found Montevideo, he's the first one that really saw it, and he took off. He called me, and in 10 seconds, he had me in the business. I mean, I was in. I was sold.
Well, first year in business, 1 product, 1 little group in Florida, just doing tasting parties. Those 7 people turned into 26 the next week, turned into 68, and turned into 127 people. We grew the business at a phenomenal rate. I'm not sure how many millions we created, but we started with 1 case, 2 case, 2 people, turned into 4, and 4 into 8 and 16. We got to the point where we were putting thousands of people in every week. In '05, when we started our Montevideo business, we knew we had to take juice with us, and when it didn't fit in the trunk, of course, we went for the next size. We went ahead and got us a little Hummer, realized the seats went down, filled that puppy up, and continued to do tastings until even that wouldn't make it happen. The more we hosted tasting party, the more people came in. So, our first trailer, we figured, you know, the juice trailer, we went ahead and invested in this big boy, and people kind of laughed at us coming up to their meetings, but nobody left without juice. But this one grew to a much larger size, and then it grew to a much larger truck and much larger trailer, and now we got tractors and trailers, we got buses and trailers, but this is where it all began, my baby. I ain't gonna get rid of her.
And so we started out on a very small, home-based business, and we still do that today. That's the basis of what builds this business, is one-on-ones and home tasting parties.
We signed every one of them up, whether they were a drinker or a builder, and we had exponential growth by the end of the first year. Well, there was 1 black diamond, 3 diamonds, and there was no black diamond level. So we created it, Dallin and Henry, and we sat down and talked about the higher levels, and we decided if I'm doing 10 times more than all the diamonds I broke, maybe I ought to be at a different level. So we were black diamond, black Mercedes delivered the ring, and the new club, the new trips. Second year in business, exciting, because my excitement comes from helping someone else. Broke 17 black diamonds and 127 diamonds. Evidently something was working, the product was growing. I mean, nutritional beverage market's hot. The acai berry is in the news, where people were coming from all over the country to come to our tasting parties here. So in the 3rd year, really interesting, everyone helping each other. Now we're strategically building the business. The rewards are out the roof. The new levels are established, blue, black, and beyond. We broke 33 black diamonds in all of Montevideo and 333 diamonds. This was exciting. Never before in the history of network marketing had anyone ever achieved this in this time period. Friends are helping friends, so we're connected. We made it through, even '08, tough time, but we grew. Over 40 black diamonds and over 400 diamonds, and now a $1 billion company.
Brig Hart has vision. I asked him 2 years ago what he saw in this for this business, and what he told me 2 years ago is actually happening now.
Rita and I went through all the ranks in those 4 years, created each of those levels, Black, Royal, Presidential, Imperial, and Crown. Now going into the 5th year, Rita and I aren't done yet. We want to go further. We want to help people because people have a dream. People want something more. People have adopted our culture that we don't want to be the best business in the world. We want to be the best business for the world.
You know, we're just ready to touch one person at a time, one family at a time, one city at a time, one state at a time, one country at a time, and then the world. We're just looking for other people that are willing to fight for something more in life and to achieve their dreams, their goals. So let's make it happen. It'll be the best thing you ever do for your life. God bless.